Good evening. It's Eric Previn by recording, and here we are at the Government Affairs Committee meeting of Wednesday, January 2nd at 6 p.m. I'll do a quick roll call. Eric Previn, here. Barry Johnson, excused absence. Marcia Newman,
here.
Lisa Karajian, excused absence, we may get her later. Victoria Shulam, excused absence, we may get her later. Jeff Carter,
here.
Rick Rosner,
Hey.
and Patrick Lewis, whose ex officio is an excused absence. And we do have several members of the public, Cheryl Williams and Wayne Spindler and Brian Carroll and Peter Cole. So here we go. The call to order has been accomplished in the roll call. So approval of the December 5th Government Affairs Committee minutes. On December 5th, as you recall, we met and touched base on all those items. We made a recording and posted it on the website, and we followed through on all those steps. Some of them are coming back for revisiting, so I would move that we accept those minutes.
Second.
Fair enough. Any opposition? We move forward. Update from the committee chair. So, yeah, tonight is about updates on some things. There's a new item, and I'm just excited to have people participating. We have a lot to accomplish in the next part of the new year, and I think we're excited to be meeting. And I'll go up to public comments from people who would like to have anything to say before we start the meeting in earnest. We have Mr. Spindler, Ms. Williams, and Mr. Carroll. Anybody care to?
Generally speaking, we notice your chair ex officio has been very busy emailing a lot of people and making accusations and getting himself involved in things that, such as CBS security. He talked about something about CBS security, that they were going to start taking a role in things. So when I come here and they ID me, you're violating the Ralph M. Brown Act every single time. But what I know is with Mr. Lewis, if he doesn't get himself under control and get some counseling very soon, they're going to take everybody in this room and they're going to bounce all of us on our ear outside Radford all the way to Ventura and back to downtown Los Angeles, because they don't care. The people on this lot don't care. If there's going to be a problem, they're going to throw this neighborhood council off this lot permanently. And they will not stop. They will get very violent if necessary. The security that they have here is the equivalent of 9/11 security. It's equivalent of a government security.
They're professionals. Right.
So not just professionals. Mm-hmm. They're not trained in the Brown Act. They don't care about the Brown Act. They don't care about the First Amendment. What they care about is if anything is happening that interferes with the operations of the studio. If they deem that anything happens, they will break the first arm that's raised. And that's why your chair, when he's talking about...
You mean the president?
Yeah. In emails, that he's going to start having people contacted by security of CBS. He is making a criminal threat, because that is not the right people. When they walk in a meeting, they're not trained in the Brown Act. If they see something, an offensive word, somebody's offended. That meeting was a disaster.
Actually, Spindler, you make an interesting point, and I want to direct you. There is first of all, I accept the comment, and we have also something on the item later on the agenda that's called Studio City Conduct that I think alludes to some of that stuff that maybe would be a good opportunity to follow up on that. But for now, unless you have a finisher. Quick finish as we head into the agenda.
Where's the timer so you can start?
They've got millions of dollars of insurance.
Yeah.
They don't care if they get sued. They don't care. But what's going to happen is somebody's going to get hurt. And they don't care. You have to understand something. These people that run this place, own this place, are above the law. So when Mr. Lewis is playing the game he's playing, and somebody gets hurt because he starts calling, or Lisa starts calling, or that idiot from the Dunn starts calling, when you call their security, you are telling this studio there is an immediate threat to the security of the city.
I take your point.
That
I take your point.
is not LAPD.
Right.
This is a far
It's a private.
different
It's private property. They're a private security firm.
Yeah,
Fair
so,
enough. But
you know,
but if I may,
yeah,
I want to
and
encourage you
you're
to
holding-
continue
and
to
you're holding
comment
this meeting.
when we get to the item. Yeah.
Every time you've been holding these meetings, you're violating the Brown Act.
Well,
Every single time.
let me just simply say we won't be doing much reply, but we'll do a little reply, which is that I think that the Brown Act. You're right. You're not supposed to, go too deep into checking people. You're supposed to let them in without ID. But because we're in an unusual situation, we've heard about that before. We agree that it's problematic. Let's move forward now, though, and get to when we get to that item. So we now have responses to public comment. So that may have been it, but other people may want to respond. Go ahead.
When we get down to there, I have lots to say on what Wayne's.
Yeah, it's an interesting item. Mr. Carroll.
I could be wrong with this, but it's my understanding that if at CBS Security you say Brown Act is your name, they will record Brown Act as your name.
Oh, that's cool. That's good to know. In fact, that's what we do at City Hall. If you want to skip giving your ID at City Hall, that's a great point.
Really?
Again, I could
Yeah,
be
you
wrong.
just say
Can you-
Brown Act, and will you confirm that, Spindler? At City Hall, they do that?
No. Does that mean you have to park on the street, or can you park in the garage giving rides?
I don't know.
Yeah, and again, we
But
can
I do,
test
I do
it.
believe that there are ways
Right.
that CBS Security has worked with your concerns about the First Amendment and the Brown Act, working those two things together to make them equitable.
It's a good point, because they should honor it, is your point, my point. We all
Yeah.
agree. So let's move forward. Any other comments? I don't want to...
Can I reserve?
Yeah,
Can I make a comment about last meeting that we had?
sure.
Okay, and it was about a motion that we had about a citywide statement about tolerance.
Yeah, that's also in the item.
Is that on the item?
Well, I called it Studio City Conduct. I said members of the board have expressed concerns about recent reports in our neighborhoods and back and forth between various board members of the public during board meetings. What is Studio City?
This isn't the. It was about we were trying to formulate a statement for the public schools.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, why don't we roll into item number 10 since we're on that subject,
Okay.
and then we'll go back into the okay. So the issue that I just read is, like in all places where people communicate, there can be some conflict, and we've seen some horrifying activity in our neighborhoods. I was a little vague in the agenda, but there have been some reports. One report was of pulling the wigs off of, possibly wig-wearing, worshiping Jewish people and throwing the wigs down and driving off. And, invariably it came up, was this a bunch of idiots, of course, but was it hate crime? Is it racism? What did this really happen? I didn't have any overt proof, but nonetheless, it's extremely worrisome, and I think everybody agrees. And then, just to dovetail, there was an incident in the recent board meeting, and I think this member of the public was present. Many of us were present. It got a little. We had to examine the First Amendment. So I thought it was important to put it on the agenda. And as you mentioned, Marcia, you thought it would be a good idea to get something going with the school and try to find some way to be active about that. So I'll open it up now for discussion. You want to follow up?
Well, actually, I felt that we, as a committee and as a community, has overstepped our boundaries to try to put a curriculum directive to LAUSD. Okay, it's one thing because that's what we had discussed, presenting this to LAUSD, and I felt that wasn't our place. Our place to make a statement as a local government arm. Well, the type of community that we want to be, and it should stay there within our community and within our little government. That's it, not for the LAUSD.
Cool. Interesting.
Can I just say one quick thing?
Absolutely.
Less than 30 seconds. An institution like CBS and this huge facility, I'm a lawyer, okay? And I would usually be representing someone like CBS. But they have so many buildings here. They have so many things going on. They have so many, that big, huge, I didn't realize until about a year ago how big this place is as far as office buildings. The Supreme Court would balance, and I think there should be a way through mediation or meetings to certainly have pre-made lists of people that are approved so that they don't have to do what they just did to me. But CBS does have a huge interest and a I would say, a rational interest in making sure that whoever comes onto this property, which is private, not public, is okay. That's all I'm saying.
Fair
I'm
enough.
not saying that there haven't been incidents where people have been insulted, probably, but we could work out a balance, I think.
Well, we can certainly talk also about
You know,
whether or not
at some
security.
point.
Yeah, but does security need to be called in a public meeting? When people are raising their voices, and that's really what the issue is about. What's the
that thing
appropriate
with
level
the
of
board meeting
conduct,
is-
Peter?
So
yeah.
who's allowed to call security? Because we know it wasn't anybody on the board who called security.
Yeah.
Someone in the audience.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel that if somebody feels unsafe, they should just call security. I mean, I don't want to limit who can call security if we're having, but I also think that calling security is a big escalation, and I never ever see a good reason to call security during a meeting that I've ever, it's not my thing. Have I had security called on me? Well, once or twice. But, I never recommend calling security.
A few years ago, when things were getting hot over the RFA, they had security people at the meeting.
Oh, yeah, it's a
I
style.
remember
Of,
that.
some people, as
Which I'm
Mr.
not-
Spindler can
I
certainly
don't think is a
testify in a
good
minute,
idea.
know that there are some people who have meetings where it is a part of the game, that they're constantly, treating it like a security situation. That's not our way in general, I don't find. Marcia, do you have a comment?
Well, I was just thinking about, the egress and entrance into CBS for people who come regularly, like me, and I have to go through, I'm really going through international travel every time I come.
Yeah, it's not fun.
It's not fun, but I wonder if they could do for people like me the equivalent of a TSA pre-check.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You'd have a thing.
People who've been there
Yeah.
before, repeat visitors who you've already looked through my
And to have my
luggage. Although
husband drive me here.
Putting any of this in writing is abhorrent to me because I feel like we should be meeting in a place where you can walk right in the doors. That is not. That's not none of our fault, and it's a nice place to meet.
Do they charge us? They charge the council?
There's a small contribution that comes out of our budget, I believe, but I can never get a straight answer about that. But nonetheless, it's obvious that we're here, and it's quite nice.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to move.
It is.
And we've put it on the agenda before. Let's move. And in fact, we can segue if you want. But let's make sure we get all the... I feel like someone has something to say about the conduct, because that was a tough issue this last week.
Well, it was just so off the rails and so obviously wrong. I mean, I stood up well before any of your public comments and said, and I never filled out a card, and I go, because Richard Adams made a comment, which was, I had another viewpoint on. I raised my hand, Patrick called on me, and then Patrick and the VP go off on a tangent about having to fill out a speaker card. Well, the rule that was not, I wasn't held to that standard.
Interesting.
So,
You're on the board.
no, I'm not.
You're not?
No.
I thought you were.
I thought you were.
I'm not that stupid.
I'm not.
Rosmer, are you on the board? Jesus, none of us are on the board.
Wait, you're on the board.
This was going to be a problem.
Wait a minute.
Is it?
We only
Who's on the?
need one.
This is outrageous. Who are you people? No, look. I think it's great that none of us are on the board.
I'm on the
Let's
board
move
of
forward.
CBS.
Wait a minute.
Let's move forward
You are.
officiously. I think I am. I was,
Yeah, you
but
were.
I've been removed many
Seriously?
times. No, they tried. But
Oh,
not successfully yet.
you're
But they're
back
working.
on.
I'm preparing for removal.
Really? Oh, my God.
But I'm not.
We can't
They
have
haven't got me
anarchy.
yet. Yes.
So with this, I mean, Wayne was wronged in this. So isn't it up to you then to go? I don't know how this works.
You think he was wrong or wronged?
wrong
Or both?
He was totally wrong.
Oh,
He felt. It's like everyone knows that you're nice to this man. He's nice to you. It's really simple.
If you're not, it's another story.
It's another story. So it's like just play along. Let him
Yeah.
speak. Let him speak for a minute or a minute and a half or whatever.
Absolutely.
and Life is
Right.
good.
That's why Lewis needs to be here tonight.
Well, he'll get a copy. I mean, let's keep it nice because targeting anybody is unnecessary.
Lewis does.
But here's how I feel. Well, I don't feel that people should be. But I don't feel that people should be. This is just me on behalf of myself. Well, Brian, you have a comment? Go ahead. I was just going to say I don't think people should be targeted in any way, whether the president or the public speaker. I think we have public meetings and sometimes it gets out of control. Although we should quickly bring it back into control, and then we should move forward.
Two issues: getting on the lot
Yeah.
and civility at the meetings.
Right.
And getting on the lot could be solved with some reasonable, rational people
Civility.
in probably
Yeah.
10
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah.
I must say
other
that
one,
the TSA
people-
idea is not a bad. The idea of a pre-check, people who are frequent committee members, could they at least be? It's worth following up on, and I will make a note of that. I made 2 notes of that. So, but going back to the First Amendment, maybe we all know it. Brian, you had a comment?
I did. So you should know by now that I won't say anything privately that I'm not willing to say publicly. So just to say it on the record, because a lot of people here haven't heard it, is like we on the board have a responsibility to set the tone in the room. And, you know, when escalations occur, when we cannot hold ourselves as board members to the same standard that we're expecting the public to hold, for themselves. And so what happened at the last board meeting, and again, not to name names, but could have very easily, not to just play along, but that is kind of what would have prevented it from escalating to where it got, I don't think one stakeholder should determine the tone of the meeting either. But we on the board have a responsibility to set that tone and tenor, and that didn't happen.
Fair enough.
I agree.
The president could have called everyone out of order, called a recess, 5 minutes, cool off, and then come back and just go.
Mhm.
But that springs from experience, not.
Can there be, in the sign-up sheet, everyone has to sign up who attends. I don't even know, is that legal to do that?
No, and we don't enforce it very hard.
Okay.
But what was your comment?
I was going to say, if there's a sign-up sheet for everyone who attends the meeting, just to have, here, you agree to the codes of conduct.
Well, it's a valid point, and we could post it. I think we do post it somewhere, and it doesn't. Those things don't work. They also have an announcement at some meetings where they go, "The code of conduct is about to be read."
I think
And
it's
then
a good idea.
And then they
But-
read a bunch of things that people don't do, like no throwing of bananas, oranges, baseballs, no stones, no sticks. It's like listing it like we're just completely mad people.
Can I recommend?
So it doesn't go.
What I would I said I was going to say tonight, but the president he presides, and if things are getting out of hand, it is up to him to make his best judgment. And like the other night, I would have called for a recess and gotten everybody calmed down, and then maybe talk to each side for 2 minutes, and then resume the meeting. There are ways of doing this that, that doesn't have to escalate into DEFCON
escalation
1,
management.
But
that comes from experience.
But calling the elephant out in the room, it's the person would have to then go look in the mirror and go, I'm giving myself a timeout because it came from the president. And not only did it come,
Is this
not,
the
I'm
meeting
going to put it on the record. Not
where
only did it come from the president,
Krikorian was
it
there?
came
No.
20 minutes
Okay, then I
before
wasn't
the
there at
meeting
this meeting.
from the president. It was outrageous.
Yeah, it's hard to respond to this without being specific. But I will say, the current president starts the board meeting on a hostile note, and if we can't get beyond that, there's no hope for that meeting.
I didn't see the 20-minute. You were talking about when they were using the F word back and forth.
I'm talking about way before that. I mean,
Yeah, I think-
the meeting begins with public comments and very hostile reactions to public comments, and it's when that happens, then that's where the bar is set at the beginning,
Okay.
and that's what leads to the more obvious one.
Well, experience.
Right. Okay, well, since that seems a bit incident-specific, any other ideas about, Studio City-based conduct? I mean, I agree with all that was said in terms of we want to, set the right tone. And if we can set a good tone, I think people will feel comfortable participating, and we can have a much more smooth set of operations. I am worried about violence in Studio City or attacks in Studio City, but I haven't heard much more about that. And, Marcia said that she doesn't want to, I'm not speaking on behalf of you, but, that maybe reaching out to the schools we should do something more in our own way. So I'm open to ideas about ways to, address that, but maybe we should just let that percolate along, not do anything at the moment.
I
since,
think so. I
things
really do.
often tempers go down. I mean, that's what I think. So any comments from the public on this? This is the Studio City conduct one, sir. So this would be the appropriate place to hurl some invective, if you'd like, Mr. Spindler. No, I'm kidding.
This is the one where they're pulling the wigs off the heads?
Yeah, and then they just, is it really happening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
On the west side.
Oh,
They
Jesus.
had incidences.
We had one in Valley Village, is what we're saying.
But that might have been it. So what it is in these foreign customs, if you've been to the Middle East, if you've seen that side of it, one thing, of course, was the famous shoe throwing incident where they take off a shoe and throw it at you with President Bush when they did that. But another thing is to pull off the yarmulke.
It's a kind of an insult.
Pull off
Yeah.
the head cover. It's a great insult.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot more than what it is, it's a physical attack, but what it is it's a religious and psychological attack.
Interesting.
It's like removing your cover.
Got it.
Yeah,
It's
stripping
it's
you
very
off.
very offensive.
Yeah,
So
it's
the
very
idea
offensive.
is it may have happened in our area. We're extremely worried about that and vigilant about it. And if anybody has an idea for an action or a meeting or a thing or connecting, last week we talked about, our month Museum of Tolerance. We could have a speaker. We could, maybe a good start would be we will try to set a nice tone in our own meetings, and then we will
You know what?
move on. Yeah.
I think that's
Okay.
that's a great
Well, then
way to
let's
start. Let's
spin it in that
clean
direction,
your own home
honestly
first.
and openly, because I do believe that it makes a
Yeah.
great difference. And maybe we've certainly heard a
So
range of comments.
what I'm thinking is that the local government is a place of tolerance, diversity, open-mindedness,
Right.
and respect. It's a government. We're all volunteering. It's a democracy. Everyone can speak for their minute and a half. You get cut off at the. There should be a timer. I mean, really, you get cut off.
Oh, yeah. It's got to be a.
All right, and that's it.
electrocution.
Think before you speak. You have a minute, whatever it is, minute and a half, 2 minutes. But you're free. It's a democracy. You can speak what you want. And the responses are thank you very much for letting us know how you feel.
Excellent.
Period.
All right. So that concludes item number. We're not going to take an action unless anybody else has a concluding remark. Feel free to speak up now as I orient myself. But that would wrap up the Studio City conduct item. Now we can go in backwards order or we can go back to the beginning. Let's go to the beginning for the purposes of following along. Item number 6, the 10-5 board composition. We'll make this very brief because we spent a lot of time in our smaller group organizing something that is now, as I like to say, the ball is in the clerk's court.
Okay.
So that is how I'm leaving it for now. But what we've done is we adjusted the way we would vote. The board voted 8-2 to go for it. It's much cooler and simpler. And again, ball's in their court. We don't want to make a big mess at the moment because it's January 2nd. The date at which it becomes really interesting is January 31st, when they can either do it the way we said or not. And there's going to be some discussions in another forum. But I do want to bring up here, that's the update. And I raised it to the level of the mayor and to the councilman. Member Krikorian saying, Krikorian, could you help with this? Because we did all vote and it is better. What do you think? And he's not responded yet, understandably. Give him a little time. The mayor is not responded yet, exactly. Give them a little time. But at least we've got it out of our system for the moment. It's cleaner and better. We can move forward in, we believe in self-determination here in Studio City, but we can't, control everything we do. But that's what, comments or questions?
When's the next mayoralty election?
I don't know, but he wait.
He just got reelected?
Yeah, he just got
Like 2
reelected
years
last year in 2017. So
Was it?
It's so it's
7, 4, 11.
4 years from 17 is 21.
No, I think it was
No.
before 17.
Was it 16?
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway, it doesn't concern us. Although I haven't seen Mayor Garcetti's name in any of the, as they're examining all the presidential candidates so much. But that's so. What does anybody have anything to say about that, or have we exhausted the 10-5 because we spent a lot of time on that? I want to be open, but
So the board voted for it,
board voted for it.
and it was sent
To the
wherever you
clerk,
send
to the
those
mayor,
things.
to the city, everybody but the city attorney. I think I may
Now,
have
what
not
if
sent
they
it to the city.
say, just as a process,
Yeah.
as a question, if they say good, then we win, right? We got
If they
it.
say go for it, I mean the
Okay.
board vote. We're not
If
gonna-
they say no, then what? Do we?
well, we have a system that you can find in the existing
Then
bylaws.
they,
We have to
then-
appeal
then
it.
What is there a next go to court? Can you? I mean, I just am curious.
No, I mean, look,
We'll see. Let's wait
we've been
and see
very
what
open about
happens.
this. We've been very open about this. Our plan was to make it the way we thought it would be better because we thought it was terrible, some of us who participated.
Right.
So we made it as good as we can. And, the idea of moratoriums on changing things prior to voting is an idea, but they don't follow it themselves. I can give a direct example where in this on the very same agenda on which they approved changes, they approved a special election and made certain accommodations that are changed, new, different. And that's exactly what we're doing, which is making some accommodations beforehand. And, they do it, we do, you have to do it sometimes, and there needs to be competing arguments. I don't see a good argument to go forward with the old system.
Yeah,
I don't know who we're protecting.
We're improving our representation.
Yeah, but you made the action question. What can we do about it? I mean, I'm open to
They say
that.
no.
Brian?
Isn't that David Rue, the chair of the
Yeah.
council?
I've copied those people on that too, right? I'm up in there with them too, saying, hey, look. And, cards on the table. For a longer period of time than when that last action took place over the last couple months, we've been focused a little bit on this idea of a moratorium because it's ridiculous. I mean, it doesn't make any sense you have to understand what you're trying to protect. So in terms of action things that we can do about it, you mentioned a lawsuit, I mean, I don't think that
I don't know.
No, I know, and we're in a little public meeting at a committee for the city. I'm not the Spindler gets a little excited. Calm down. But yeah, no, he didn't say that. He didn't.
No.
But I've always agreed.
have to lose.
Here's my honest feeling though, because I think that lawsuits don't have to be filed to be positioned. And I do think that, our ability and the problems we had in Studio City to articulate ourselves and to say, look, you're going to have a problem if you don't acquiesce to something that's better and simpler and fairer. And that's why I think, today I shared, we had a little John Walker discussion. He's the prior couple presidents back. And, trying to get them in the whole experience of having an election, even though we unseated them. Some people were upset that there was discussion with those folks. How can you talk to the others? I don't see it as sides. I see it as we're a table. People come around the table. Some like each other, some don't like each other, but we all have to work fairly. And so we're trying to build the table for our election. 10-5 was an idea that would make it simpler for people to show up and be there. If they want to kill it, let them kill it. And they can kill me too, right here in the heart. No, I mean, I could care less. I do care deeply, but I'm just saying that I think that we're going to prevail because it makes no sense any other way.
And it's in their court.
And it's in their court. Ball's in their court for now. So as I said, we could get into an endless conversation, but let's see what the next steps are. And let's be flexible about having additional meetings for strategizing. And if anybody has anything to say about it, I think it's great.
Sure. In the Public Safety Committee, we presented many motions and very firm statements to our council
Leaders,
member about improving the ratio of police people in our area to deaf ears. There's just never an answer, but we were absolutely relentless in pressing, and now we got an allocation of 10 more officers.
Well, this is fantastic. So there's a great
That was just
uplifting
pressing,
story.
and I do have to say Craig was relentless.
Craig is relentless. Okay. Any other comments on the?
You
idea?
never know what's going to happen.
Never know
It's
what's
like
gonna
the 3/5 compromise in the Constitution. The states that were for it were really the northern states because they didn't want the southern states to be able to count all of the slaves, which would have increased the number of representatives in the House. So if you read the history of that whole provision, I mean, they had all sorts of different
Talk about
things.
various ways to gerrymander and
So
limit
what people say it was the South that, I mean, it's all sort of, so you don't know what they're going to do. They might come up with something else. Let's wait.
I like
and see
our
what they-
strategy. Do something good and have them kill it.
Right.
And then we'll just do
And let 'em
Craig
try.
Radow.
Yeah.
And then put out a blast.
It's too early to get hysterical. January 31st is when we start. So a little before then. But I intend to hawk them, as we say in the old country.
Yeah.
Okay. So no motion on... do we have a motion on that? Do we want to write another letter? I mean,
No.
I don't think we need a motion to do that because we can act on the previous activity.
Yeah, let it
So let's move on now
Smalls.
to an interesting conversation on Friday night forums on elections. So here we've had a little bit of a, I don't want to say setback, but a sidestep. Paul Koretz, the treasured council member from the 5th District, the richest of all districts, had agreed to come to our local library to talk to our characters about campaign finance and this weird matching fund thing that we've been quite vocal about. And he has been outspoken. He's a good guy, supposed to be a good guy. And so is Mr. Bonin and Mr. Rue. Those are the three that have really written about being leaders in the campaign. And yet now he is backing away gently and saying that he thinks it makes more sense when I can get another council member to join him. Now, I have been hawking, if I may use the official expression, Bonin and Rue in the nice way, holding back on any kind of forceful activity, but just requesting politely, perhaps a little relentlessly, but nonetheless trying to get him in the boat, because it's a great idea to come explain how this is going to benefit them. So, long story short, and the LA Times wrote an editorial about that very same subject that made it seem quite sketchy too, the thing we're objecting to. So I would like to open it up for a minute. I have an idea about how to use the date, January 11th, for another activity in addition to what we're doing. Hi.
Hi.
Join us. Come on in. Welcome. I'm Eric Previn, the chair of the Government Affairs Committee. We've just had a member of the public.
Yes.
Yes, nice to meet you. So just to bring you into the period where we are, some of us are on the committee and some of us are members of the public, and we are now talking about item number 7. We have an agenda for you if you're interested. And it has to do with, we had a library kind of a conference planned with one of the council members who is requesting that we involve other council members as well. So that's where we are now. And what we're doing in the interim, this is my proposal, is to think about using that venue in connection with, possibly outreach for what is on the next items on the agenda about elections that are coming up. And so, I don't think we should let the Councilmember Koretz off the hook. And I think we have to keep trying to get them to show up. And I've immediately offered another date, but it is an issue. It's very, I have to say, disappointing that a council member would say, "Oh, now I'm going to go back to the scrum with the other council members, and I'm not going to participate, as I said I would, on the merits of this conversation." So, what do people have to say about that? If anything, it's rumors.
Paul Koretz is from which district?
CD5.
And what does that cover?
CD5 is like the fancy part of Wilshire and the west side. It's like Beverly Hills adjacent.
Is it 90066?
Beverly Hills is, it's its own city.
Is it Bel Air?
Yeah, Bel Air.
90066 approximately.
Nikki Minor. Those the people around Sepulveda. It's the richest district. If you just for context, the average wage in that district is $95,000 average wage
Per person,
and in something like CD8 downtown, in South Los Angeles, it's $25,000. Okay. In Studio City or in our area, it's $44,000. So it's a much more affluent place. Okay. Bonin, the guys on the west side, are also up there, and Weezer downtown in the fancy. But be that as it may, we have a.
East of the
thank you very much.
Right. So the question is, go ahead.
Give it a different name. Just call it something else, and then corral them into.
You mean trick them into coming to an event about subjects?
Something else, but something that just give it a different name. But it's like.
Well, I don't think his objection, to be honest, is about the name. I think that the objection, and again, I can't speak on behalf of a council member, is that this proposal that they have smells to high heaven.
Yeah.
And they do not want to be seen around the proposal. And if you try to explain it to the people in Studio City in this room, you're going to get a big frowny-faced emoticon. And so that's why they don't want to come, if we're being cards on the table honest. That's just my opinion. But he's a good guy, and they know they have a problem. And for context, as I mentioned in my earlier example, they approved this matching fund change what they did was they, instead of going down to the level that Mike Bonin had been advertising of an $11,500 threshold, they went only down. Wesson took it from $25,000, which is impossible, and 5 times the threshold in New York City, down to $20,000, which is still impossible.
Yeah.
But the reason why he did it, he said, was because there's a special election coming up, which means a special election means it's not regularly scheduled, and it happens because somebody had to go somewhere, and sometimes that's to be the president or a senator, because they got, and sometimes it's to be a lobbyist, as in this case. So Mitchell Englander is going to be a lobbyist. And so we're having a special election. The people will pay for that. And the matching funds that we're talking about tonight will be impacted in such that they will be getting the lower threshold, but really the 6-to-1 match, which means they're going to be getting a lot more money. And special elections are a time when you get a lot of money. So it really looks like
What's the 6 and what's the 1?
So $115 goes in. You write a check to your favorite candidate who's running for CD12 for $115. He sticks it in the machine, and out pops $800. Whoa!
And they get 800?
They get $800. And so
Only after they reach the.
Yeah.
Well,
there's a threshold. They have to reach
people
a
don't
bar.
understand. That's why we want them to come down, because it is. You have to meet the threshold
On the
to get in, but
public
on the
people.
So here's what the threshold is, so that people understand. It's good that you're asking. What you have to do is you have to get $115 from 200 people. So that's not that hard.
Well,
You say to yourself. Then you start to think about it, it gets a little harder.
It used to
But
be 250 to 100 people.
right, that's right.
Because
That
they
was the
have
previous
the other
one.
thing too.
25,000. So, and Wesson did a thing that I don't mind disclosing. He, at the very end of a rules committee meeting, he said 25. Bonin wants 11.5. He'd already taken the public comment. Then he said, "You know what? I think I can get 20. 20 I can get votes for tomorrow." So he said that, and then he shut the meeting, so nobody could say anything. And then at the next meeting, he pushed it through. Nobody said anything, and it was done. And then I said, "Don't do that, because you have to take a comment," And I tried to object, and then I wrote them a cure and correct, and then they signed it anyway. So that's where it is now. But now I've got a lawyer who I talked to, and we're evaluating it. I mean, look, it was very, very. I think it was a Brown Act violation, but Brown Act violations just mean you have to redo it. They still have the wherewithal to redo it, Anyway, it's not great, but the reason why they don't want to talk about it is because it's a stinker. And our goal is to shine light on it so it dries up and we can clean it up and get a better deal, which is where at least the lower tier candidates get something, as we made in our motion in our CIS, which is our community impact statement. So that is the Friday night. Now, other comments from people before I...
Quick question.
Yeah.
If I am, who's the best fundraiser of all these guys?
We
would you
are.
say?
Mm-hmm.
Who?
Weezer.
Okay. Let's say he gets
The FBI are busy
X.
examining his...
$100,000 from regular folk.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying that he will get another $800,000?
No, because there's a cap on
There
how
is
much
a
they can
cap.
get totally. But the cap used to be, if in a primary you could get $100,000 in public money, and they all got it, the incumbents, and then in a general election you could get $125. So the total was $225,000 in public money. You take a bath.
You know what the average cost of a congressional
Yeah, but hold on. Before you
campaign-
get there, that $225 went to $340 or something like that.
Oh, it's even
now
worse.
with the 6-to-1 match, because they did a CPI.
The average cost of a United States
Right.
Representative campaign is $500,000.
Exactly. Money in
plus
politics.
this city council is the highest paid legislative board in the world.
Here?
Yeah. No,
Here?
the city council is very high paid. Correct.
City
Yep.
council.
But a little off agenda, but
So-
totally true. So the question.
They're
yeah.
rolling in it.
Absolutely. So the question, any other comments on this, by the way? I'm happy to hear from people on the point, and that is a good point, Jeff. If not, I would like to just propose because, I think that we can apply pressure to them, Paul Koretz and the other council members. I think that, quite frankly, I think they're going to have to do something. They're going to have to say, okay, we are going to send somebody to, because it's too embarrassing to just ignore. We have these, that's what I think. I know maybe you're saying, well, you're delusional. Everything you're asking for is being overturned. You're delusional. But maybe so. But I really cannot see how they can simply ignore a neighborhood council who's gone through the hoops and written the little state. I just feel like we'll see. But the date, January 11th, at the local library is great. It's great because we love the idea of open forums. We had a great one in November about the election.
They were great.
And so I think what we should be doing, which I can't emphasize enough, is having more forums. And I don't know if I can merge into item 8 here, but item 8 was, what about ideas for ways to do election promotion, because we are going to have an election. And we did a little research. But one thing that everybody seems to agree is putting people in a room together and having them exchange ideas with the right tone is the way to go. So maybe we can find a way to talk about some of the sticky issues in Studio City or the not so sticky issues in Studio City. Rosner, I'm remembering when you said, maybe it would be good to have where all the different organizations who have constituencies here can come and exchange their ideas, almost like a
college fair.
Yeah, a college fair was the example, which I think is a great idea, or we could go more at, our signature brand here in Studio City, the pitchfork versus the kumbayas. We could have another absolutely appalling display of everybody deteriorating and then finding some common ground. Or we could do a very boring election review of all the rules and procedures, or we could do all three, and kind of push it together. There's also, I don't want to merge items 7, 8, and 9 because that's against the federal and the state law to push 3 items into one comment. But the mobile pit stop, which is one of our great ideas that's pending, that's to stick a toilet near the Red Line Universal Station. What's wrong with that? Anybody want to speak out against that? Feel free, by the way, but only because it's a great idea. But it could be challenged by people, because you ready to challenge it? All right, let's do that. Let's take a moment on why the mobile pit stop needs to be very carefully.
Are any of you members on Footbridge Square private group on Facebook?
No.
Okay. So it's that Silver Triangle area.
Oh, we know Silver Triangle is just behind Ventura Boulevard, between
Right.
Whitsett and Laurel Canyon.
Right.
So
Someone submitted an article from the Seattle Times about their homeless problem. They've had total upswell. Okay, a lot of the same issues that we've had too, and this writer has really analyzed it in a very unique way. I'd like to
share it
send
with
you
us.
the
Sure,
article.
sure.
It's a long article. I'm going to send it to you.
You can't summarize it now, but
Right.
do you know what the mobile pit stop, what we're talking about? Okay, good.
I do. And the problem that Seattle, Los Angeles, San Francisco, the good weather cities are facing is the welcome mat. Okay? It's that friendly welcome mat. And I think we have to really consider how welcome we want to be for people that are unwilling or unwelcome to find services and resources in their own communities.
Okay, well, I appreciate the comment. I will say this, that the mobile pit stop is, and it's not mobile, by the way. The new program is called the Pit Stop program. They've dropped the mobile. I think it's for funding reasons. But it's a public toilet with an attendant, and the attendant is a workforce development character who means that they have spent some time possibly in either prison or jail, and they are happy to have a job at $16 or so an hour, so above the minimum wage, and they monitor it and they clean it, and it's not it's open to everybody. And the idea behind putting it in a touristy media district where we also have some characters who are perceived as transient or not necessarily, carrying a suitcase or whatever, is it's a place to go to the bathroom. It's not a place to live. It's not a place to set up a, house or a car. It's just it's just a decency thing. And what I like about it, and I think we've been over this when we talked about the merits of it, is that it just creates a kind of sense of responsibility about everybody. And it provides a very good tool for people who are traveling on the train, going this way, and also tourism from to Universal. So when people come from other countries to visit our horrible, theme park, they should at least have a place to go to the bathroom, is what I say. Welcome to America, to Los Angeles.
So more importantly,
Olympic town.
Councilman Krikorian alluded to a prostate issue that he may have, and I think it's important that when he travels that he has a place to be. In all seriousness, though, he did say that. But
Yeah.
I just don't see the point to not doing it. I mean, do it, and then someone like myself can go check it out, and if there's an issue, I'll be all over the council office going, this is a problem.
Right. So the reason why I brought it up here was maybe we stick it on the agenda since it's, because then people can, maybe it could be the common ground if we have a meeting.
For January
Rosen.
11th?
Just one second. Yes,
Oh.
Mr. Rosen.
That's a good idea.
Well, I think we all kind of know where the homeless people tend to end up. I live in the Silver Triangle. I know, there's somebody behind the transformer next to down the street from the Starbucks. And you need a certain amount of protection, a wall or something to just kind of keep your stuff against. And that whole area next to where you're talking about putting the bathroom is super exposed. And I don't do. Have you seen a bunch of homeless around there?
I never go there.
Okay.
You're talking about the area that's Universal?
Yeah,
The
I-
subways.
Yeah, so
I go to the North Hollywood stop.
I can address that.
That's-
Yeah.
yeah.
The Studio City stop seems super exposed and doesn't seem like a place that just having a bathroom would make a bunch of homeless people stick.
Right. Oh, I see your point. Right, exactly. Well, I appreciate that comment. That's why I agree. But there are pockets near there, so it would provide a place at least. And, and I also think that, again, it's about tone. It's all about tone. And when you're in a city or a place where there's literally no place to go to the bathroom, it's weird. It's just weird. I mean, they had good results. We've watched the video, the touching, feel good YouTube video, and which we can share with you if you haven't seen it. But it's, all but for the funding and the wherewithal to do it. My last note on the mobile pit stop was a short letter, seeking help with the ignition of just doing it and trying it. And if we don't like it, if people are upset by it. But, it seems like given all the funding. So going back to January 11th, any ideas about January 11th, about having a forum, that we design, we've paid for the room, and we kind of have it be a combination of outreach for the election and also, what we do, which is process government issues. Yeah.
What is the difference then between a forum on January 11th at the library and the council meetings?
Good question. They're not Brown Act meetings technically, but we would still agendize it, so to speak. And the difference is, funny enough, we try to strike a tone where everybody has a voice. And we hear from, in that case, it was the candidates. They were agreeing to do it on our terms, which was, light moderation, and people can speak. And there's no back and forth, which you often hear in public meetings. There's we can't address that because it's not on the agenda. It's more open, and that's what I think makes people feel, comfortable in that environment. I hope. That's the goal. And plus, I think the venue is nice over there because it's not all that parking stuff we talked about. You can just show up. But that said, Friday night, we don't know that we can create a message or a kind of a attractant to the community, in such a short period of time. But we did it last time fairly quickly. I mean, we could use a lot of the same artwork.
1 week last time.
It was 1 week last time, so even less. So, I think it's a good opportunity. The fact that we have it pre-booked and approved is good. And we can design it, we can do stand-up comedy, we can do little flamenco, if that's what we want, or we can do, 15 minutes on the election.
Can you change the name of that mobile pit stop? Because it's not mobile, it's going to be there.
We're going to take the mobile off.
How about freestanding toilet facility?
Well, appreciate that. First of all, the mobile, they came up with that name, and that's their thing. So, we can definitely, rebrand it. I don't think we're going to call it what it is so much as a toilet, but or a bathroom. But have you seen the picture? Did I send you the picture of it? They're very cute. They're like little kiosks. Something out of a...
Would you use it?
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Would I use it? That's a very good question. Of course.
On opening day, we'll see what happens. On
No. I mean, look, the whole idea behind these things is that they're maintained. I mean, if you have to go to the bathroom and there's a maintained toilet, it's not, just to be clear, it is not one of those porta potties.
Right. Not
It's a step up.
Woodstock
Step up.
thing where you
Yeah.
turn the...
So, okay, well, the January 11th thing, I mean, I think we can also talk about the ideas for election funding, since that's on the agenda. That's item 8. And, one is to have a forum. So there you go. And a couple of the others that were sent through, and we can talk, yeah.
Can this forum be used as leverage to get somebody to show up at a later forum?
Yeah.
Like
Good
if somebody,
point.
if
Good
you
idea.
get people who will tweet about it, and then the tweets make it back to the...
Well, that's a good point. And the other thing we could do is we could go full steam ahead with the campaign finance discussion and say, well, we don't have any council members because they're all such cowards that they can't come and talk about what they voted for within a 24-hour period. And we do have, by the way, and again, Mr. Transparency, we have a daily news reporter who has begun to cover our behavior. Ariella Plakta, who, Mr. Transparency, called me and said, preferential parking districts, and we talked a little bit about it, and I said, I can't speak because I'm just the government affairs man, but the president could certainly set the tone, and then he spoke to her. But they, and then she came to our meeting and witnessed our meltdowns, but took an interest in the mobile pit stop. She called me later and said, I'm interested in the mobile pit stop. I said, well, so am I. Glad you called. Yes, sir.
And just to respond to that, when we did the 2 open forums last year, the reason why we got Nazarian at the second one was specifically because his opponent was at the first one.
Exactly.
And I don't
Same
think
thing
he
with the
was
sheriff.
one. Yeah, same thing with the sheriff.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a way to do that. The problem, I think, is just what is the first one to build leverage off of.
Because I think actually we are, even though I sound defeatist, we are executing the plan of torturing them into the discussion as we speak.
Which I love.
Yeah.
The question with that is, like, I would love to just
of course.
do the gimmick, have the thing, put it on the same as always, a cardboard cutout or whatever of the candidate. The problem, though, is the other side of it with the audience.
Right.
It's like we could grandstand for 2 hours.
Right. No, that's my point. Right.
That's my only
So
problem.
no,
because
but that's
love
why I
it.
think it could be, as you recall.
Right, yeah.
Brian and I have been in the trenches a little on this because we had, as you recall, for the open forum, there was a delay in getting the entire board to approve it. So we had to promote it without any labeling, which was very awkward, which was fair. But anyway, so this is a little similar in the sense that we want to keep that meeting alive and drag them into it, but we also don't want to waste the time and just have it be a prop meeting. We want it also to be a real meeting where our people are going to come and talk about, hating each other and being on the opposite sides of everything.
Do you think Mike Foyer would come?
You mean Fuhr, the city
Fuhr.
attorney?
Yeah.
I intend to ask him forthwith. It's a
Because
great
he
idea.
himself would he alone.
Yeah, I mean, we can go for lesser celebrities, so to speak.
I would
And
put money on it.
No, he's not coming. Well, though, these people do come to Studio City, to the neighborhood council. That's what they do. So they can't avoid it. That's why they came to our open forum, and that's why they're going to come. I want to emphasize, they're going to come talk about this.
Yeah.
For the record, February 19th is the date when it's the thing that they are stuffing through for CD12 is already rolling down the river and will turn on the lights in February. But on February 19th, in the Ethics Commission, they're going to reconsider all the stuff about the stuff, which we've already been drawn conclusions about on our way past. But that's their way of dealing with it. And in the interim, their council members are all going, do you want to go to Studio City? I'm not going there. Do you want to go? No, I'm not going there. And so they're all saying, I'm not going. And I've asked the council president. So it's just getting more and more unbearable for them. I would say, again, this is a update, and we will continue to torture them about that. But in the meantime, January 11th is a live wire, and we have to put something on the buffet. And it can be, maybe it should be a buffet. Yes.
I think combining the campaign finance with like a, what do you want to see the neighborhood council do, or what do you want to
Yeah.
improve in Studio City would be good.
But how do you not compete with the neighborhood council meeting?
Because it's a whole different. Hello.
Hey, Janine. Welcome.
You're not going to be able to dedicate enough time to it. I think if it's in a more open forum.
Yeah. So
I think-
let me,
yeah,
just
it's a
because I
good
got a little
idea.
distracted. So you're saying you'd like to maybe put a what could your neighborhood council do for you feeling
Yeah.
alongside
Just alongside the campaign finance.
the campaign finance thing. So maybe
I'd like to see the NIMBYs versus the Kumbaya, but that I think is a whole separate kind of meeting that is a different crowd.
When you
Right.
said rolling down the river, you mean that the Los Angeles River?
yes, of course, the cement trough.
Eric, I have to leave at 7.
Okay. Okay, good. So I think we're very close. Is there anything we didn't talk about? No, we talked about everything, and we're about to start another meeting. So does anybody have any public comments or final comments on any of these items before we wrap it
I
up?
move we adjourn.
Okay, so adjourned. So that
Okay.
concludes the Government Affairs meeting.
Excellent.
Thank you.